Well, around the world, certain jurisdictions make a name for themselves economically, commercially, by having laws that promote commerce. I mean, Bermuda is a capital of insurance companies. Cyprus is a place for bankers who don't want to be under the thumb of Russia. Panama is a banking capital for that region, and now El Salvador wants to add its name as a place where you go if you want progressive legislation. In this case, I'm talking about El Salvador's rather surprising decision to announce that Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, is legal tender in that country, and they want to take steps to make it accepted in commerce, even to pay your taxes. Little El Salvador leading the way. I see other countries are contemplating it as well. Joining us now to talk about this development is our friend Alan Bakari, senior tech editor at Breitbart.com. His story is called El Salvador, First Country to Accept Bitcoin as Legal Tender. Alan, great to see you again. It's the first country to announce it, but I see that other countries, including in Latin America, are considering following suit. Is that true?
I'm not sure if any other countries are following suit, but it's certainly got a lot of attention for El Salvador. And I think they might be the only country in the world to do this. Most countries classify Bitcoin as an asset, which means you pay capital gains tax on it when you convert Bitcoin into a regular fiat currency. El Salvador is essentially saying, well, no, it's going to be legal tender, which means there's no capital gains associated with transferring it. And I think the law also says that vendors in the country have to accept Bitcoin as a unit of exchange.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting because, of course, that requires some technological sophistication on the part of shops. I don't know if an ordinary shopkeeper is going to be ready for that. Then there's the transaction fees and the delays. But I think all of those are technical solutions that can come later. I think you've nailed the most important thing. If people in El Salvador can hold on to Bitcoin and not pay capital gains if it goes up in price, then all of a sudden that becomes an extremely attractive place for anyone working in cryptocurrency, because it would be like your Canadian dollar or your American dollar or your British pound going up and down. You're not paying taxes on that. If your cryptocurrency, if your Bitcoin is treated the same way, that could really pull a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the tech space for cryptocurrency, to that little country, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think that's probably what they're going for. I mean, there've been examples in the past of, cryptocurrency enclaves, appearing in places like Puerto Rico and and small little countries because of the low capital gains tax. And with El Salvador essentially eliminating it altogether for Bitcoin, that'll certainly make it an attractive destination for people involved in crypto. Of course, then there are other reasons why you might not want to go to El Salvador, namely the crime. But it's certainly an interesting move by that country's president, who is probably one of the most pro-Bitcoin heads of state, most pro-Bitcoin political leaders around at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's going to come to an American jurisdiction. Let me give you an example of that. New Hampshire, for example, sometimes states, sometimes companies are incorporated in certain states to give them a better legal background. Even if the operations of the company are not in New Hampshire, for example, a company might register there for tax reasons, for business law reasons, because the courts apply laws differently there. I don't know. I see that the mayor of Miami, Mayor Suarez, who is a high energy guy, loves the crypto, just hosted a big Bitcoin conference in Miami a week or so ago. He's a Republican, by the way. I think he really wants to make Miami that kind of jurisdiction in America. Now, he has to obviously work with the state and the federal government, but I wonder if that will happen in America too, because El Salvador, it's a little exotic, a little far away. Like you say, there may be some crime issues, but wouldn't it be interesting if an American jurisdiction said, we're going to be that crypto haven in the United States? I don't know if that's even possible, though, because that's a real threat to the Federal Reserve System and as you call it, the fiat currency. It's a real threat to the inflationary just print money strategy of both Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, and inflation is becoming a real problem in America, price inflation especially. And yeah, a number of states are actually going for this crypto-friendly approach. I think There are some Rocky Mountain states, red states, of course, that are taking that approach as well. Suarez is an interesting character. I'd count him generally on the establishment wing of the Republican Party. I've heard him compared to Nikki Haley, for example, but he certainly seems to be leading the way on crypto. And Miami was the destination of this massive Bitcoin conference. I think it was last weekend. So, personally, I know a lot of Bitcoin people who are moving there or currently live there. So there's a lot of opportunity at the moment for jurisdictions, whether that's national governments or state governments, to make themselves crypto friendly, because not a lot of places are at the moment.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.